everyone, this is Kelly from The Truth and Story, and I am here to just answer a question that I get asked a lot. I know that I'm sure that I have other videos in which I answer this question, but it's a question that does come up quite often, and so I'm always glad to go back and readdress it, because obviously my experiences shift and change the more that I use the different systems that I do use. So the question is that there are so many different divination systems out there, and because I do use a lot of those systems. This is my little white book of everything. I need to re-glue those down. But I have tarot. I have in here the more tarot, Lenormand, notes for Kipper, notes for my charm casting set, Deste, basic playing card rules, astrology correspondences, life path numbers, geomancy, I Ching notes. Also, these are about numbers, runes. I need to finish my OMs. I have a set. I have handouts and cheat sheets that I use for those things, but I need to put them into my book. And I obviously also need to, I've run out of air. I've run out of a little bit of room because I do spreads in the backs, and I still need to obviously add my own tokens. But the idea of kind of redoing all this makes me nauseous, so I need to figure out a way to do it digitally. But I love things divination, and I work with things and in different divinations, and I use all of these different systems. So the question is, why do I choose one over the other, and why would I think maybe somebody else would choose to get a reading of one of these over the other? Which I think is a great and interesting question. I don't even know where to start here. I'm going to start with Deste, because I just have done a few Deste readings. You can see this is well-loved deck. This is the Turkish version. My friend Elif also sent me the Greek version, but it's in beautiful, pristine condition, and so I'm just working with this one right now. But it is really well-loved, and people do enjoy getting Deste readings. Deste is a system. You can get two different versions, a Greek version and a Turkish version. The Turkish version, it's Turkish because it has the reversible backs, because it is a system that uses reversals, versus the Greek version, which has a little bit, I think, more nudity. Not anything unartistic, but it does have more nudity than this version, and its back has a single image of Katina on the back. That's how you can see them apart. But what Deste is in a nutshell, in a way that I think people can understand, is it has a core system of cards that are very similar to working with Lenormand. Not that all the Lenormand cards are here, but that there is a system at the heart of it that is connected with Lenormand cards. It's a type of reading where you have a symbol, right, like a cross or like a flowers or ring that has sort of a connotation and a meaning to it. Then it has this beautiful, rich elemental quartz system, which has jinns or spirits of each of the elements that are going to give a piece of advice at the end of the reading. It has the actual full elements themselves stepping forward. It also has, and then of course it has the amazing quartz system where it has princes, princesses, queens, and kings of the different elements, of the four elements there. So it has this beautiful range of elemental energy and quartz combined with a similar type system as Lenormand's. It is also a system that does use reversals. Excuse me. So what I have found, and what I have had clients respond to me with Deste, is that Deste is really good at showing you potential pitfalls warning of potential situations and how you might influence those situations. It does a really amazing job in showing the way that past issues can inform what's happening right now. And it does a really good job of, excuse me, it does a really good job of centering in on what your thoughts are and what your feelings are surrounding a situation, how that can influence it. So these are not things that tarot or other things can't do, but I think it's a combination between the cards and the spread, the traditional spread that you do with Deste, that it really focuses, half of the reading, or I would say a third. There's basically 3 sets of 9 cards, so a third of the reading is focused on how your past is influencing how you think and see and feel right now, and then a third of the reading is focusing on moving forward, what things to focus on and pay attention to. So it's probably a combination of the system along with the spread itself, the traditional spread, that really makes it a powerful tool for reading. But I will say the number one thing that people respond to a Deste reading with is that it does such a good job at showing things to avoid, pitfalls that may be there, or ways in which you may need to avoid certain situations. So it's a great tool for that. Lenormand, which this is my story in color Lenormand, but there's tons of Lenormand decks out there. And I would say also Kipper, although I do generally, if I'm doing a grand tableau, I'm almost always using a Lenormand deck. I use Kipper in a counting method style that I have a video on. But these are similar systems. They're 36 cards. They both have a significator card. What Lenormand does really well, and I'm not saying that Kipper wouldn't do that somewhat the same, but I don't think it is the same. Lenormand is amazing in having multiple significator cards, as many significator cards as you need to address the situation. So you can go to the anchor card for work, you can go to the fish card for finances, you can go to the heart card for love, you can go to the ring card for strong partnerships, you can go to the path card for big decisions that you need to look into, you can go to and so on, child card for issues surrounding new things that are coming up, the lily card if you want to look around issues around balance. So there are just this untold ability to focus in a reading on energy surrounding specific situations, so that when you lay a grand tableau out, you are literally laying out this beautiful puzzle of significators and the cards that are touching those. And that combination between significator cards and proximity, other cards in proximity to those, makes this an amazing for a general reading. A grand tableau is, in my opinion, the best way to get an overall general reading, because you can literally look all over the place at various perspectives in a reading. So I think Lenormand does 2 things really amazingly. One, it's an amazing system for looking at an overall picture of a situation or a person, if you're just doing a general reading on the person. It's also really good at being quick and clear. Again, not that other systems can't do something similar, but it just excels at that. I will say that a lot of people getting work and more practical things of, just really getting down to the nitty-gritty of what do they need to do about a particular situation, but especially practical everyday things such as work and those types of issues tend to more often request a Lenormand reading than a tarot reading, in my personal. Not that people always do that, but that tends to be what I see. Is certainly one of those things. It's just really good at what it does. But I have done Lenormand readings on spiritual practices, spiritual life, all the way down to practical things such as work and schedules and these types of things. So it can do the whole gamut. But what it does well is have so many ways to, areas to look at, that it creates an amazing tableau for a general reading. Kipper I use differently because I just use the counting method, but I still think it is really good at being succinct. I think it's really good at, because of the way that I read with it, at bringing out the important, because I read with a master method. So master cards will show up to really highlight the important shifts or the important things that are going on in a particular situation. Now, again, that is because of the way that I read Kipper, and everything that I'm saying here is, you know, you may disagree with, or it may not be the way that you have experienced these systems, and that comes down to that everybody has a different style and a different way of reading. But this just gives you an idea, because I get asked a lot about why I might choose one system over another. But what Kipper does well in the counting master method is that what comes to the surface with that master method are the important key spots, the key milestones or touchstones in a particular situation to focus on. And that's what Kipper does really, really well. For me, playing card readings are amazing. This is, for all intents and purposes, for my own self, very similar to reading just the minors in a tarot deck. There are obviously just 3 quarts, and then there are the pips. And so I tend to read them somewhat similarly to what is the suit and what is the number. It's just at its core what is going on in the numbers in terms of the little or a lot, in terms of the meanings of that particular number, in terms of how many are showing up, and in terms of the suit that's at play. So I tend to, it works amazing like that. But I primarily, probably at this stage, I learned to read playing card reading a long time ago, but I will say right now, it's fantastic with 9 card readings. All of these are fantastic with 9 card readings. I have another video on the versatility of a 9 card reading. But I probably use playing cards at the moment the most for just straight up yes and no questions. And I know I have a video on that as well. But just where you literally pull 3 cards in a yes and no question. And here there are, the hearts are yes, the diamonds are maybe yes or probably, the spades are probably not, and the clubs are probably not, and the spades are no. And so by using these for yes and no, I need to find my phone. By using these for yes and no, by using these for yes and no questions, yes, you get the yes and no, but you also get the, nothing's black and white. I don't believe things are black and white. So you also get a very good way of saying no, no, there's a little wiggle room with this last one. Or, I don't feel like these are shuffled really well. Let me give them a good riffle here. And again, I know I have a video somewhere on using playing cards for yes and no readings. So here we have a no, a potential for things to go in a better direction. We have 2 reds to 1 black. So there is a high potential. There is a strong probably, but it's going to start out rocky at the beginning, real rocky at the beginning. It's going to feel like a no, but there's going to be some opportunities that are going to open up to move it and shift it to a possibly, yeah, we can start to move the energy in that direction. So it gives you a yes and no. You can do a straight yes and no by simply 2 reds, 1 black. It's a yes with some roughness at the beginning, where of course 3 reds would be 100% yes. So you can use that, but it also gives you some information about how the energy might be going to move in that yes and no situation. So I don't, that's primarily what I use playing cards for at the moment. Since we're sticking with cartomancy at the moment, tarot is great for all kinds of things, right? But it's really good. What I think tarot is really good at is getting into the under layers of things. It's kind of peeling back the elemental and the archetypal energy that's at play, and it's really good for that sort of, okay, let's really dig into the whys. What is happening and why is this particularly happening? Again, doesn't mean that you can't find those information through other systems. This is just what I think that tarot does really well. Now, I think tarot, all of these systems are amazing, that you could simply just, your system is tarot, your system is Deste, your system is Lenormand, your system is playing card readings, right? I think that you could have any one of these systems and accomplish all of these things. But if you're like me and you do like to use a lot of different systems, these are just some ways in which I find them to have strong suits. And I think that tarot's strong suit is in those 56 pip cards being in play, in the major arcana being in place, so that you get the larger shifts as well, and you get this really great overall picture of what are the bigger energies that are play, what are the smaller energies that are in play, what are the different layers that are happening or going on in a particular situation. And that is something that I think that tarot does brilliantly. Oracle is a really hard category. I truthfully think that this is probably the hardest category that could probably use its own video, just because there is no one oracle, right? So I have oracle systems like the beautiful portal, open portal system that just came out, that is beautiful and complex and can be its own system all in and of itself, and other kinds of oracle that are like that, that are really complete, that have a system in place that you could simply use that for your primary and only reading system. Then there are other oracle decks that are more along the lines of not just affirmations, but giving us the greater energy. What is the larger energy at play here? This idea of releasing, or this is a little bit different. I haven't worked with this deck a lot, so this may not be the best one. Perseverance, or find the kindred, or it has more of that pull a card to get an energy of the day or an energy of the week, or pull a card to what is an energy that you should lean into. These types of things where they are more supportive energy. So I think of modern oracles as often being this support energy. If you're going to use an animal spirit oracle deck, it's usually to get that energy of support. If you're going to use an angel deck, it's for the energy of support. So a lot of modern oracle decks are supportive decks that are centered around themes such as animals or angels or shamanistic practices, or whatever that might be, whatever that particular theme might be. Now, there are exceptions to that. Like I said, there are oracle decks that are systems in and of itself. And I do have readings in which I use all oracle decks. My ancestor reading, I primarily use the Shaman's Oracle, and right now I'm using the Illuminated Earth Oracle with that. So that uses 2 oracle decks. There are no tarot decks whatsoever in that reading, and I really enjoy and find that to be a powerful reading. So there are oracle systems, but I think that's 2 categories. There's oracle as systems themselves, and then there are oracle decks that are, I would say, the majority of decks in which they are thematic decks that are there to give support, to lend support. So that the oracle cards are a little bit complicated, but they are supportive. Oracle decks are fantastic at doing a maybe more in-depth reading and then pulling out what is an energy of support that is surrounding, what is an energy that is at your disposal to help you through a particular situation, what is a deeper message that you need to sit with and work with this particular energy, one energy that you need to sit with and work with that energy for a while. This is an amazing thing. This isn't just an and. It can be a powerful part of the reading, and it can be a powerful part of a single reading to set with for, like I said, a day or a week or a month, and really sit and sink into this message that is there. So there is a depth to a good oracle, even a good support oracle. There is a depth there, and there is an energy of support and healing that is, I think, inherent in a lot of what I would consider modern oracles. So those are sort of the, and I'm sure I'm going to finish this and say, oh my goodness, why, there's a system I completely forgot. And if so, there's always other videos. Those are in terms of cards, right? But there's more things than just cards. Geomancy is something that I adore and I love working with, and that is a shield chart that I do, and it is a yin-yang-y, and that's not yin-yang, but it is an active receptive energy, yin and yang. It is that sort of a binary system like that in an elemental system. So each of these lines represents fire, air, water, and earth, as you can see with the colors of the dice, and we have active, whether it's active or whether it's receptive. So this is a strong elemental binary system that is amazing at bringing a broad spectrum down to a final point, to the judge, to a key piece of information. And yes, you can go out and you can get all kinds of extra information. You could just read Geomancy and that's all you need to ever read. But what it really excels at is two things. One, bringing things down to that succinct energy that you need to focus on that is really impacting the situation at hand or the person. The other thing it's amazing at is yes and no's. The way that you can perfect a geomancy chart gives a very clear yes or no, and then it also gives you further, if it is a yes that it is going to perfect, it also gives you information as to how that's going to go about happening. So geomancy is really good at that. Of course, because it has the 12 houses that are built in, it is also great for a general reading. So I tend to have people come to me for geomancy readings for both of those reasons. One, for a very succinct answer and a very, pared down to essential situation or essential energy in a particular situation, or for an overall, let's look at the various aspects of life and what is the essential energy that's going on in those. So those seem to be the two ways in which people tend to come to me anyways for geomancy readings. But I think it's really good at I have a word that's not coming into my head, but this idea of really it starts out broad and you keep, it's a reduction. It's a system of reduction where you reduce and you reduce and reduce until you have this core energy that is really important, and then seeing how that's going to play out and affect you. So Geomancy is really good at that. But then it's also really good at the general readings. So that's kind of what Geomancy. But I tend to go to Geomancy for yes and no's. I only ever use playing cards or Geomancy for that. And I think that's, they're really good at that. So that's Geomancy. So then you have casting systems. So here are three that I work with. We have runes here, we have OMs here, and then we have, of course, my own journey tokens, which is obviously made to order for me. So this is a system that I love. And then there's also things like charm casting. I think all of these, I can talk about all of these systems in the sense of what their strong suit is the way that energies interact. So when you are using a casting system and actually casting, so yes, you can get rune cards, yes, you can get OM cards. No, I have seen something, a deck that is kind of similar to using charm casting. So, anyways, you could get decks that of these systems, but I'm talking about using them in a casting manner. And so using a system that casts allows for this amazing way for the things to interact. We don't just have neat piles of positions and neat piles of things. We have energy as it really acts in the world in which it is interacting. It's on top top of each other. It's following trails. It is moving and it's shifting and it is interacting with each other. And that is what I think casting systems do in an amazing way. Now, in terms of casting systems, OMs for me function very similar to what I would say is Oracle, and that there is this really deep support energy that is at play with OMs, and that tends to how I would differentiate between, say, runes and OMs. Now, that does not say that runes does not also have that, but runes for me works a little closer to tarot and Lenormand, and that I think you can get broad readings with them, and practical readings with them as well, just because of the nature of, I think, the symbols that are being used. You can get go-to runes for quick questions, for in-depth questions, a lot of different things, and yes, you can do the same with OMs, but I feel personally, after using these for a long time, for me, OMs have a very deeply spiritual oracle feel to them, and I tend to use them more for that type of energy versus, yes, runes have a deeply spiritual feeling as well, but you can get in there and really work them for practical readings as well. Same thing with charm. Charm casting to me is really almost identical to Lenormand, other than the fact that you have this really intense interaction by proximity, which is again similar to Lenormand. I read charm casting very similar to Lenormand in that I'm looking for either significator coins or charms, or I'm looking at those clumps and what are in proximity to each other, which is, one of the glorious parts of any casting system. And one of the things that I love about, of course, my own system is that there are 45 of them. I have a lot of charms, so I think right now my charms go in and out. They shift and change. I think right now I'm probably at about 50 or so charms. That's my base set. And with my tokens, they have that there's 45 symbols, but then with 3 of them having a D20 dice, that's like 60 other energies that could come into play. So for me, this has a nice range of energies to draw, literally pull from. I generally, on all of these, other than charm casting, but these 3, I tend to pull out 9 and cast those 9 almost always. I have done and do sometimes do full OM castings. That's a really in-depth spiritual process. I don't think I've ever, not very often do I cast, I won't say I never have, but I mean, I don't very often ever cast full runes. It's usually pulling 9. My tokens, I tend to pull 9 and cast those. Charm casting, I'm either casting the whole thing and reading it like a tableau, or I'm grabbing just a random handful and casting them and not sitting and counting them. I don't ever count out 9 charms, but I'm digressing. My point is that the power and the beauty, in my opinion, around casting systems is the way that you can see energy interacting with each other. And I think that is a powerful benefit of casting systems, and why I might go to a casting system over one of these other systems. So I hope that this helps. Again, I just wanted to, I've probably done something similar to this in the past. I don't even know anymore. But it is a question that gets asked a lot. Even in classes, like if I'm teaching a rune class, like that would be, okay, well, why would I use this over XYZ? That's a question that comes up quite a bit. And so I just thought I would touch on it again. And these are the different ways in which I see each of these things maybe having an extra boost up. But I think that the beauty of all of these as individuals, and probably why they have stuck around for me, is that they all are, barring just maybe a support oracle versus an oracle with a system, they all can be just your primary reading system, right? You don't really have to have all of these, or you may there's just one card system you like, and there's just one casting system you like. That is certainly, the power of these is not that you need to pick and choose, but there are, there are things that I think that each one excel at, and that's kind of the purpose of this video. So hope you have a wonderful rest of whatever day, night, weekend, weekday, whatever that might be for you.